Technology and e-commerce have helped in accelerating digital penetration and bringing new customers for MSMEs. And on this road of technological transformation, it is now imperative that businesses develop digitally savvy talent. Joining us today is Mr. Praful Mattu, Director Software Development, Amazon India, in a fireside chat with Debjani Ghosh, President NASSCOM, and Karthik Rajaram, Country Head Freshworks, about the importance of skilling Indian MSMEs.
Hello everyone, I am Praful Mattu and I am Director Technology at Amazon India. Welcome to Amazon Smbhav 2022. It's a privilege to bring you an exciting fireside chat on skilling MSMEs, the road to digital transformation. As we know, India is forging ahead as one of the world's fastest growing economy, with startups, entrepreneurs and MSMEs powering this economic development. While Indian MSMEs recognize the benefits of adopting digital technologies in terms of efficiency and market growth, but keeping up with rapidly evolving technological advancements in today's digital age is also seen as a major growth challenge. We are at a cusp of a digital revolution and quickly developing into an inclusive digital ecosystem, driven by population scale digital systems and a thriving startup culture that is all set to serve 1 billion connected users in coming years. With India going digital, actively adopting digital technologies and attracting digitally savvy talent is going to be crucial for MSME growth. To discuss why digital skilling is essential to help MSMEs streamline their businesses, respond to changes in the market, and plan for long-term business resiliency, I'm excited to introduce two distinguished industry stalwarts today. First, I would like to welcome Debjani Ghosh. Debjani is the President of NASSCOM, the National Association of Software and Services Companies. A veteran of technology industry, she is the first woman to lead NASSCOM in organization's 3-decade history. A staunch champion of inclusion in corporate India, Debjani is a firm believer in the power of technology as the greatest equalizer. Welcome, Debjani. I would also like to welcome our second speaker, Karthik Rajaram. Karthik is the country head for India business at Freshworks. He leads the company's digital transformation projects for marquee customers in the region. Karthik has extensive experience working with both digitally native Indian unicorns as well as multi-industry corporations on the path towards digitization. He's a thought leader in the customer and employee experience space and helps businesses find the right mix of Freshworks products to realize their vision for delighting their customers and employees. Welcome Debjani and Karthik, and let's dive straight into the questions we have for you today. So we'll start with Debjani. In this technology-driven world, digital skills will be more important arguably than capital, networks or anything else. Please give us an overview on the MSME digital talent landscape in India. How critical is it for MSMEs to be equipped with these skills that can help them develop long-term strategies for their business and reimagine new paths for their success?
Sure. Hey, thanks a ton for having us here. And in today's world, skills are pretty much rewriting the rules of competition, right? There's no other way of putting it. You are as good or as bad as your talent basis or your access to talent strategy is. Overall, I think the demand for digital skills today is roughly around 8x higher than supply. And this is a global phenomena. This is a worldwide phenomena. And at the rate at which demand is growing, we expect it to reach around 20x in the next 1 or 2 years. So it's at a place where we have every right to be worried. But that said, when you look at the demand supply gap across the world, India actually, though we still have a gap, we are a little bit, I think, better positioned than the rest of the world, because our demand supply gap is around 20%, while if you look at the Western world, it would be 30% plus, right? So this is becoming a must have. But I have to add one point here, which is, I think as industry, we have to shift our focus from this so-called great resignation to great retention. We have to get obsessive about keeping the people that we have. And, they're also being headhunted. And we have to start, I think, as organizations, obsessing much more about talent shortage and where do we find the next talent that we need to hire, to how do we keep the great talent that we already have? How do we upskill them faster? How do we reskill them? And how do we create that purpose which makes it inspiring for them to stay on with us? I think that has to be a key focus. That said, I also think it's very important for companies, especially SMEs, to start looking at alternative talent pools when they are hiring. For example, much higher focus on colleges, hiring from colleges, much higher focus on tier 2, tier 3 cities, much higher focus on diverse talent pools, be it women or people with physical disabilities, neurodiversity. I think we have to look beyond status quo or the obvious to figure out a talent strategy. That's the need of the hour. But a talent strategy is not just about recruitment. For me, it's first and foremost about retention and then about recruitment. But this is a must do for business.
Thanks a lot, Debjani. That was insightful, especially the perspective on retaining the current talent pool. Moving on to Karthik. Karthik, Freshworks is the first Indian SaaS startup to be listed on the NASDAQ, opening the doors for others to take Indian software to the world. Taking a leaf from Freshworks' playbook, can you share your perspective on why technology was a big business differentiator in your company's journey? And how should MSMEs across sector think about digital skills, and what are the opportunities that they can leverage?
Yeah, sure. Firstly, thanks for having me here. It's fantastic. Right. So I think, like you rightly said, Freshworks has been one of the pioneers in the sense that we're the first company to IPO out of India. But fundamentally, when we look at digital transformation, right, and my team and I have had the incredible good fortune of having front row seats and work with MSMEs, especially the last couple of years across the spectrum on the digital maturity curve. On the one hand of the spectrum, we work with the digital indifference or the digital observers, right? People who are taking the first tentative steps towards digitization and their journey. And on the other side of the spectrum, we have these digital natives that are literally innovating at the speed of light and keeping us on our toes, right? And we've had the good fortune of seeing it. And from our perspective, we look at essentially four elements. One is from a model standpoint, we look at four things. One is the digital strategy in the organization, right? Is there a roadmap? Is there a well thought out strategy? And is the organization set up for the digital transformation? Second, we look at processes and governance, which is essentially, are the core processes being automated? How does automation play a critical role in the transformation journey? Third, we look at people, which Debjani beautifully articulated, right? Do we have the right people, the right kind of skill sets? And more important than hiring, is there a plan and a strategy to retain them, to manage them, to motivate them, and keep them engaged? And last but not the least is tech, right? Are we partnering with the right tech partners in the ecosystem for the transformation, right? And we find organizations across the spectrum grappling with challenges, and they're at different stages. On the one side, we are seeing these companies which are just making the first step towards transformation, who are grappling with basic challenges of not even having a strategy, or the people on the other end of the spectrum. We are seeing the digital natives which want to have a 360-degree view into the customer. They want to look at analytics in a very deliberate way, right? So these are challenges that we see across the spectrum, and we've had the good fortune of working with all of these and working and being a part of the journey.
Awesome. Thanks, Karthik. Moving on, NASSCOM has forged multiple partnerships with leading tech businesses, startups, and governments to reskill and upskill businesses of all sizes to address technology gaps in their businesses. When it comes to MSMEs, a common perception about them is that they are too near-term focused, but digitization is a long-term journey. At the same time, there is a lot of talk about digital, but perhaps not so much about digital skilling. What are your views on this aspect, Debjani?
COVID has been such a tough teacher for all of us. It's the one thing it has done is it has turned all of us, willing or unwilling, into very fast learners. And that's the change in mindset we are seeing across sectors. So NASSCOM works with nearly over 2,000 to 2,500 SMEs across India, across verticals. And today, if you talk to any of these SMEs, the first thing on their list is skills, it's talent. I think everyone today has realized that your business success depends first. You may have a great brand, you may have tremendous strategy, you may have access to the best technology, but your competitive advantage comes from the people who use that technology to create the differentiation or create the magic. And I think that is very well understood today, the importance of talent. So SMEs, yes, SMEs, and rightly so, have, and I won't make it generic, but a large percentage have, had a pretty short term viewpoint. But I think the last 2 years has been such a masterclass in terms of how to develop sustainable business strategies, how to pivot your business, how to grow your business in crisis. I think all of us have understood the importance of things like people, purpose, partnerships, having strong supply chains, and all of those things have become very real. Um, so the conversations are definitely happening. I think the problem we face, or the problem that the SME sector is facing, is most of them have really not invested in building a robust talent strategy as such. It's you hire people pretty much as and when you need, and people have stayed. But today what the SMEs are realizing, that the people they have are in tremendous demand. The big companies want them, the startups want them. Anyone who has digital skills today is in demand, because that pool in India is around 1.8 million. That's very small compared to the demand that we have. So I think the change that we need to see, and that's the conversation we as NASSCOM are having with the SMEs, is you have to invest in this is the time when you really have to invest in culture. This is the time when you really have to invest in people, because you have to have a talent strategy that looks at how do you keep the people you have, and how do you bring in more people at an affordable, sustainable cost. Because if you start matching salaries, it's not going to work. You're going to be out of budget very soon. So how do you do that? So I think the conversation has shifted from, is it important? It's definitely important. There is very strong realization to what do I need to do differently? How do I see this as part of my business strategy?
That's very well said, Debjani. Thanks for answering that. I'll go back again to Karthik. Karthik, government has introduced several measures to digitize the economy and encourage small businesses to participate in India's digital growth story. What role do you think the private sector can play towards this vision?
No, absolutely. I think the role of private sector is critical. And our CEO Girish often talks about this, right? We build software not just for the Fortune 500, we build for the other 5 million, right? And everything that we do at Freshworks, the way we think through strategy, the way we think through our go-to-market motions, the way we want to onboard customers, support customers, puts that at the front and center, right? And obviously, we've seen this incredible push from government bodies and institutions. We see the Project Samakshan, which is a wonderful collaboration between the Government of India and MasterCard. We have seen technology majors like Cisco and Google and a lot of these folks sign MOUs with the government bodies to ensure upskilling and up-leveling of digital skills. So what we're doing, and we're also seeing a lot of these edtech platforms partner in a very significant way with government bodies and the ecosystem to upskill and up-level, right? So I think the role of the private sector and the partnership between the public-private sector is absolutely paramount in ensuring that we are able to meet the demands and the gaps that we are essentially seeing in terms of talent and skills that is much required for MSMEs to progress.
Thank you, Karthik. So SaaS has evolved many folds to encompass several new age services and solutions. What started as a trend evolved fast into a significant tech business with huge potential, fueling countries' startup ecosystem and supporting MSMEs. How can Indian MSMEs leverage SaaS for staying relevant, in especially while taking their businesses online? Debjani, would like to hear your perspective on this?
But before I do that, I mean, I just want to give a call out, Karthik, to your last point. I think, as you said, the partnership is key. And I also want to call out, apart from the entire talent, etc. For example, Freshwork, Karthik, and Girish, I have to give Girish a call out here. The way he works to grow the ecosystem, I mean, that is truly inspiring, right? I mean, you would think that he would see other software product companies as competition and he would want to keep them, keep a huge distance between them. But honestly, the way I have seen Girish go all out via SaaS Bhumi, etc., to develop that ecosystem, to share his learnings, I mean, that's, to me, we don't often talk about what private companies do to grow the ecosystem. And I absolutely think we should, because to me, that's like teaching us to fish versus handing a fish over to us, because that's what will build sustainability. Going to your question, I think, the entire software product ecosystem, we are seeing phenomenal growth in India. And we are seeing tremendous acceptance of Indian SaaS by software products and SaaS by global enterprises. And I think Freshworks has played a tremendous role in making world-class from India truly, truly legit. And it's time that Indian enterprises now need to step up and start looking at software products and SaaS, and especially start looking at Indian companies to meet these needs. Now, it's important to realize that there is a unique value proposition. Actually, it's cumulative of 3-4 advantages that the Indian SaaS players are bringing, which is something I think the global enterprises have understood very well. It's time for Indian enterprises to understand and to leverage, right? First, I think our unique value proposition has been in helping the growth of the sector very sustainable. I'll talk about a few things. One, our software product companies manage to tweak the products to adjust to market needs much faster than anyone else. And there are several cases where you've seen how agile they are. When you talk about customer centricity, they are the role models of customer centricity in terms of understanding the problem and then quickly going and figuring out how to customize to meet that problem. Not just in terms of the services they offer or the products they offer, but also in terms of innovative pricing models. We've seen tremendous innovation when it comes to customized pricing or differentiated pricing models for customers to meet their needs. And that's why this ecosystem, the SaaS ecosystem, has done so wonderfully well, reaching out to SME startups than any other sector, because they're able to meet the needs of the business. Third, I would say the solutions developed by these companies are very, very scalable and easy to deploy. They're cloud ready. And this is an advantage that Indian enterprise, especially the Indian middle and small enterprises, have to leverage to the fullest. This is the best way they can kick off their digital transformation journey, right? Another thing I'll talk about is that majority of the products offered by the Indian firms are very easily extensible, through native integration, open APIs, which makes it extremely easy for a small company that may not have a very large IT workforce to adopt and to scale. And the entire servicing can be done OTA over the with via the cloud. So it becomes tremendously easy for a company when they're looking at how to begin their digital transformation journey, what services, what products, because it's not just about buying the services and products, it's about the partnerships. You need someone who'll quickly understand your business, who'll customize for your business, who'll be able to service you every stage of the way. And I think that's the benefit of this ecosystem. Karthik can, I'm sure, throw much more light on it.
No, I couldn't have said it better. Yeah.
Absolutely. Very well said about the power of ecosystem and the network effect. Karthik, moving back again to you, there is a considerable skill gap between the requirements of MSMEs and the qualification and training that their employees receive today. My question to you is how MSMEs can invest in the right digital channels and tools? How can they be trained to adopt new technological tools, especially SaaS products, which are easy to use and do not require specialized skill sets?
Absolutely. No, I think it's fundamentally a question of build versus buy. And in the context of MSMEs, it is mostly buy, right? I mean, because they probably don't have the kind of bandwidth or the engineering muscle or the product management experience that some of the larger organizations have to build it on their own. So it's largely a question of buying. And when it comes to going and partnering with tech providers, I think one of the things that a key consideration is the entry barrier, right? We want to keep the cost of entry extremely low, and that's where SaaS kicks in. And SaaS comes with its own fundamental advantages, right? There's incredible flexibility. You can scale very quickly. You can, like Freshworks, for example, was a global product company from day one. Our first customer came from Australia, right? Our first 8 customers came from 5 different continents. That's because we are obviously a SaaS business. We were cloud first, and we partnered with the likes of AWS, which gave us the scale and the predictability of expenses, right? And even the payments were streamlined. Our go-to-market motions were very optimized for a digital-first world. And I think that is what companies, MSMEs, need to start thinking about. They shouldn't be necessarily very overwhelmed with what's in front of them in terms of transformation. They got to prioritize. They got to identify those core processes that is going to kind of give you the ROI that they want, and then embark on the journey and in partnering with the right kind of organizations in the ecosystem.
Okay, that's helpful. We're now coming to the end of the conversation here. But before we go, I would like you both to share your concluding thoughts on my last question. So what's your advice to different cohorts of MSMEs who are listening to us here today and are looking at the digitization in the current environment? What, according to you, are some of the short-term goals and some long-term targets they should set for themselves? Karthik, do you want to start, and then Debjani can come in and add with her concluding remarks?
Sure. No, I think I can go first. See, essentially, it's important to have a roadmap and a strategy, right? And typically a roadmap or a strategy is long-term, but you got to think in terms of smaller incremental steps that you can take, right? Second is prioritization. You can't go just boil the ocean. You got to identify those critical core processes that you want to digitize, you want to optimize and automate. Third, you got to partner with the right providers in the ecosystem. That's critical, who are going to be your trusted partner, as Debjani said, in your journey towards digitization, right? And it's not going to happen overnight, but I think there is enough support in the ecosystem today to get you started on that journey.
Great.
Yeah, in addition to everything that Karthik said, and I absolutely agree with that approach, I think there's a few things that you have to think through. First of all, I think this entire journey requires a very strong mindset, because when you embark on a digital transformation journey, there is no finishing line. You can't say that my journey stops here. Right? There is no finishing line, or there's no goalpost that you can clearly see. This is a lifelong journey that you have embarked on, and you will have to continue to learn and continue to adapt, and you'll have to basically get very comfortable with it because this is here to stay. And I think this can be very, very difficult for a lot of leaders who are not used to dealing with this kind of ambiguity or an infinite game plan. So how do you build that mindset of learning how to play the infinite game, as Simon Sinek calls it, right? And the only way you can survive this game is if you can adapt faster than others and stay ahead of others. I think that's the first thing I would call out. The second thing I would call out is it's very important for leaders to really learn how to fall forward, because if you want to get it right, you have to experiment. You have to try out a few things. There is no way, even with the best consultants on your payroll, you will not know from day one what works and what doesn't work. You'll have to try out a few things. And if you're not trying out a few things, you obviously don't know what you're missing out. And I think this is where the fear of failure in a business is so high. You're often paralyzed by that fear and you do not want to take risks, which I think is a wasted, missed opportunity. So you have to, as a leader, you have to not just have the courage to take these risks, but you have to create an environment where your employees are willing to try out new things, take risks, and when they fall, it's okay, just fall forward. So when you get up, you're already a few steps ahead. And the last thing I would say is, it's again all about people. Digital transformation is really not about the technology to me. It is about the people. It's about do they share that vision that you have put forward? Are they inspired by this journey? Do they believe this journey is going to result in something that they value? Do they have the skills for this journey? Are you building the capabilities and the mindset for this journey? I think that's very important to sort of think through that. And if I may, I'll just add one more thing. As you digitize, don't get overwhelmed by data. Once you begin this journey, you'll be data all around you, lots and lots and lots of it. If you use it, it can result in insights that will help you take better decisions. But having data is not equal to using data. A lot of us have data and do nothing with it. So building that culture and mindset, I would say not a data-driven culture, as many people call it, but to me, it's more of a data-informed culture where you're aware of data and what to do with it. So yeah, ultimately, I think it's got to do a lot with how you think, the mindset of you as a leader, your organization, and that culture of change, agility, disruption that you build.
Very, very helpful, Karthik and Debjani. So, having the right mindset and the vision, culture of experimenting and failing, and as Karthik said, not boiling the ocean, going after the right priorities, and of course the people, as Debjani kept reminding us today. So with that, we have come to the end of this engaging fireside chat. Thank you so much, Debjani and Karthik, for joining us here today at Amazon Smbhav 2022 and sharing your thoughts with us. I would also like to thank everyone who is logged in to be a part of this session today. Stay tuned, lots more coming your way at Amazon Smbhav 2022. Thank you everyone and have a good day.